Morning everyone. Today we will start our microwave optical communication lecture number 4. So far what we have studied, we understood the applications of microwave communication. Next, we also understood the transit time effect, how circuit behaves differently for lower frequency and higher frequency. So now today's aim is we need to model this transmission line for high frequency, right? So when we say we need to model this transmission line, it simply means first we need to understand its electrical characteristics and then accordingly we have to model, right? So we will start our lecture with revision. This is my transmission line. Transmission line mainly used to deliver power from source and to load N. So at AA dash we apply power supply and at BB dash we apply a load, and then we expect power to transmit from A to B. But what we have understood, whenever source is at lower frequency, whatever voltage is here at AA dash, at BB dash it will be nearly same. But when we increase frequency of my source, transit time effect will come in picture. This we have understood using wavelength as well as finite time point of view, right? Using wavelength, what we have finally decided, if length of this conductor is comparable to wavelength, then I have to incorporate transit time effect. And suppose my wavelength of this signal is much higher than this length, then there is no need to consider transit time effect. Okay. Now another point also we understood that if my wavelength is comparable to this length, it means it is comparable to size of the component, right? So whenever my wavelength is comparable to size of component, again we need to incorporate transit time effect. Throughout that particular component, my potential difference is going to rise, and now this resistor won't behave as a resistor or normal 1 ohm resistor, which it would have behaved in a normal circuit theory. So again, we will repeat this question. Suppose if I have a two different 1 ohm resistor, so one with the size of 1 centimeter and another with the size of 5 millimeter, that is half of the centimeter. So for lower frequency analysis, so when I apply some 50 hertz signal, 1 volt, then it will give me some steady current RMS value of something. But under high frequency, what will happen? This 1 centimeter 1 ohm resistance will give me some different result, whereas 1 ohm 0.5 centimeter size resistor will give me some different result. So now we understood that component size matters when we go for high frequency analysis. I want to carry out high frequency analysis. At the same time, I don't want to deviate much from the approach which we use for low frequency analysis. So basic how we do low frequency analysis, KVL, KCL, right? We know along the length how many resistors are there. So first we will write down voltage source as left hand side, and right hand side we will write down current and the respective resistors value. And then this path will be followed. Okay. So this is applicable only if my wavelength is much higher than the length. So now please suggest how we do this high frequency analysis. When I say when how we do our high frequency analysis, it means how to find out current and voltage value throughout this conductor AB. Okay, so whenever we are in a situation where we don't get a clue, what we have to do, we have to divide this complex situation into small steps, and we have to identify what is the problem. Okay, so now we have one source, we have load. Okay, can we change the source? No, because we need to operate at high frequency. Can we change the load? No, we cannot change the load because we want to radiate some frequency over here. So let me give you an example that we are designing 60 gigahertz transmission. So for that, I have a 60 gigahertz generator. I have 60 gigahertz antenna, which I am going to use to detect something or transmit some data. So my antenna I cannot change. My generator I cannot change. And I want to characterize this thing, that what will be current and voltage value for a line. So while doing analysis, one thing we need to pay attention is we cannot change my source value. So whatever I want to do, I want to do within this A dash and in between B dash. So can anyone suggest how to do analysis in such a way that this transit time effect is included? Yeah, we do have some solutions with us. So now we will see the approach. So first we need to identify what is a problem. Problem is this length is comparable to wavelength. Okay, I cannot change my source signal. It means I cannot change my wavelength lambda. Lambda I can't change. What other changes I can make? This length, no, length also we can't change. But to do analysis, we can divide this bigger length or this length into some small portion. That small portion should be that much small that when I compare that small portion with lambda, my lambda should look very much bigger than that delta L. Okay. So for that small particular section, my transit time effect will be negligible. So now one thing is immediately clear that we need to divide this wire into small section of delta L. What we have decided is we are going to divide this length into a small section delta L such a way that it is very much less than my wavelength lambda.
Yes.
Okay. Shreya, do you remember our previous example of lecture number 1 where we have used some 50 hertz of signal,
Yes, sir.
right? So, what was the wavelength for this
It
50
was
hertz?
quite large in
Larger, correct.
kilometers, I guess.
Yes, it was in 6,000 kilometer, and we have taken example. We will start from VJTI, and it will land somewhere in Taiwan. Taiwan,
Yes, sir.
correct.
Yeah.
So, this 50 hertz signal, we deploy this cabling in our house, right?
Yes,
In
sir.
our house, it is like within 100 meters, correct.
Yes.
So now this 100-meter length and wavelength is somewhere 6,000 kilometer.
Meter.
So okay, so we understood the difference of
6 into 10 raised to 4 times, I guess.
okay 10 raised to power 4.
Times L.
Okay, so we understood that we need a difference of 10 raised to power 4, correct. Then we can neglect this transit time effect. So if I
Yes.
say my length is 3 meters, so
Yes.
can you tell me what will be my delta L? 3 divided by 6 into 10 raised to power 4, which will come around 0.5 into 10 raised to power minus 4 meters. In simple calculation, simple maths, we are going to divide this 3-meter transmission line into 60,000 different slots. So when we do that, this individual slot will be free from transit time effect.
Yes.
And then we can carry out our analysis. But as of now, this will work. What will happen next if I further increase my frequency?
If you further increase your frequency, like I guess the number of parts to be divided will increase.
Ha, correct.
No.
Okay, so as frequency increases, what will happen? My lambda decreases and again it will become comparable to delta L section.
Yes.
So again I have to divide my length further more times, right?
Yes. Yes.
So instead of 60 now I have to go for 80k divisions,
Yes.
80,000 divisions. Correct.
Yes.
So what best we can do for this? So we have to, from our previous knowledge, we know if I apply limit, if I apply limit delta L, that smaller portion is tending to zero.
Yes.
Okay. So what will happen?
So we're dividing it into points, I guess, like
Points. Correct.
continuous
Correct.
points.
Continuous points, and we are defining parameters for that each continuous point.
Yes.
Correct. So now it will work for any arbitrary frequency.
Yes.
Yes. So, thank you, Shreya. Okay, so now we understood that yes, it will work for any arbitrary frequency. So I should know the value of that particular small element. So since we have applied delta length to be tending to zero, it means whatever that element, whatever value is there for one element will be continuous for all the rest of the line. So that's the reason we carry out this high frequency analysis. And now we understood that it is point to point, so it doesn't make any sense to define the parameter for this entire length. We can't say this line will have this much resistance, this line will have this much, uh, whatever the other parameters are there. So we have to define this parameter per unit length. Okay. So if we say it has some resistance per unit length, because we are defining this parameter by taking into assumption delta L tends to zero. Now we are going to understand the electrical parameters of our transmission line. We apply source at A, we apply load at B. So when we apply source at A, our signal starts flowing from A to B. We have applied alternating voltage over here. Alternating current will flow from point A to point B. And this alternating current will induce magnetic field around this conductor. So magnetic field will look like this in a particular direction. So now magnetic field is induced along the conductor. Okay. On this entire conductor, you will have magnetic field. Okay. This is just a mutual inductance. This magnetic field linked with the current will give up an inductance. Correct. So far we were thinking only about the resistor. But now when we do the electrical analysis, we understood that there are some reactance also associated with our transmission line, and one of them is inductance, which induce due to alternating current induces magnetic field, and magnetic field around the conductor will give you an inductance value. Now we also know that we have applied some signal across AB and A dash B dash. Okay, or across A and A dash. So there will be some voltage difference or there will be some field present. We will have some electric field between these two conductors AB and A dash B dash. And this separation between the two conductors by dielectric will give us a capacitance. So now we have inductance along the conductor A to B, and we have capacitance across the conductor. And this is not at a single point, but it is present throughout from A to B, from A dash to B dash. We understood we have inductance along the conductor, capacitor across the conductor. So this inductance and capacitance is not located at any point but distributed along the length of the structure. Hence the name distributed parameters. Okay, and when we do analysis using these elements, it is called as distributed circuit analysis. These elements are called as distributed elements. So first we need to understand why this voltage difference between 2 point occurs in this conductor AB. So it occurs due to this distributed reactances, and it is present throughout the conductor length. So inductance is there along the length of the conductor, and capacitance is there across the length of my transmission line. And due to this reactances, potential differences arises. This effect is significant in our high frequency analysis. As my frequency increases, my angular frequency 2 pi f increases, my capacitance value increases, my inductance value increases. Hence, the reactance increases, and this reactance will give us voltage difference between a 2 point along the length of this conductor. So we learn this from finite time point of view, and we define this parameter as a transit time parameter, right? From electrical point of view also we understood, and this potential difference is due to reactive elements. So this is just the same phenomena from two different point of view. It's like if you look from the finite time point of view, that signal will take some time to reach at point number B. And if you compare it with the time period of this particular signal, then you will find there is a potential difference. In electrical circuit point of view, we know whenever I apply a high frequency signal, alternative current will induce magnetic field. This induced magnetic field will act as a inductance along the length of the line. We have electrical field present between these two conductors, and air is nothing but dielectric medium. So again, it will give rise a capacitance across these two lines, and this reactance will work and give us a potential difference between these 2 points. So why does potential difference happen? So we have a two solution, or we can say two approach to look at it. One is finite time point of view, and another is electrical circuit point of view. These two are the two point of view to represent same phenomena. So it is like two side of the same coin. Okay. So now we will see the lump element model of transmission line. So now we will model our transmission line using lump element. And this modeling is called as lumped element model of transmission line. So we have discussed too much about transmission line. So now we can say we know almost everything about transmission line, and we are ready to model. We are going to model this transmission line using some elements. And in a textbook, it is given lumped element model of transmission line. So can one of you tell me what do we mean by lump? Since we are talking about elements, we will say okay, collection of different element concentrated at one place, and this different element, okay, their properties may contradict one each other. We are going to model our transmission line using some element. Okay, so whenever we model something, we model based upon their features, their characteristics. Okay, we understood that our transmission line has inductance along the length of the conductor, or we can say along the length of a transmission line. So how we can model this? And second point is capacitance across the conductor or across the transmission line. So if I define A dash, B dash, so I need to first include inductance along the conductor. So it is like this. So we have inductance along this length where we have to apply capacitor. We have to apply capacitor to represent capacitance across the conductor. So now I understood that I have incorporated inductance effect by substituting proper inductance value, incorporate capacitance effect across the conductor by applying some C value. So I can able to model my transmission line. Next is definitely, since current is flowing from A to B, there will be some resistance along the length of the conductor. So I have to model R. There will be one resistor value R, which will incorporate resistance from point A to point B. So this C represent capacitance between these two lines. So what do we mean by capacitance? So we have two parallel plates. Then in between these two plates, we have dielectric medium. So what do we mean by dielectric? Dielectric means it will allow to pass electrical field across its length and breadth. These two lines are separated by some dielectric medium. This is it can be even air, right? And whatever capacitance is there along length of my transmission line will be represented by this capacitance value C. One of the property of dielectric is this dielectric material may conduct some of the electrons from this line to this line and this line to this line, and it will induce a small amount of current, or we can say leakage current. And this leakage current is leakage current in dielectric, which will be modeled as a conductance G. Okay, and this is for a small section. So for entire this length from A to B, we have to repeat this. We have to repeat resistance, inductance and resistance along the length of the transmission line, and capacitance and conductance across the length of the line. Okay, and this we have to repeat up to point B and B dash. So now we'll quickly summarize what is inductance value L, R, C, and G. So we measure these quantities per unit length. So this R represent resistance per unit length, and their unit is ohm per meter. Inductance per unit length and unit is H Henry per meter. Symbol C is capacitance per unit length, and their unit is farad per meter. Similarly, conductance G, we measure conductance per unit length, and their respective unit is mho per meter. And this R, L, C, G are called primary constant of transmission line. This is a very important point. You just note it down. These are called as primary constant of transmission line. Okay. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Our lecture ends here. Thank you, everyone.